am Mark Titus. He is Tate Frazier.
That is right.
We are Titus and Tate. We are doing a live show breaking down the Sweet 16. Do you feel that, Tate? Breathing in. This is Pac-12 air entering our lungs.
It feels foreign. It feels very different. It feels like I'm not supposed to be enjoying this much. And yeah, shout out to West Coast basketball. This is the year.
We got to remind the people.
We've been waiting for this.
We are on the West Coast.
Yes.
This is Pac-12 air that we are breathing. Those other shows you're watching, they're not breathing Pac-12 air. We are. So that makes us better because the Pac-12 has dominated this tournament. That's all anyone's talking about. It's been 48 hours since we've seen basketball, and that's all the discussion is Pac-12 basketball. Listen. Subscribe on YouTube. We're going to be doing this throughout the tournament. So those of you that have joined us every step of the way, we appreciate it. Those of you who are new to this situation, welcome.
Welcome.
We're going to be doing this every day, not every day that there are games. So be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Also, we got a couple guests coming up today. I want to tease those people. We have our good friend Andy Katz. Dare I say a blue blood on the program. A guy who has come on.
Been talking to Charles Barkley, Kenny Anderson, Ernie Johnson, now talking to us. Who would have thought?
He's come on all season, and he's crapped all over Pac-12 basketball all season. So
except for Boise State, he was really big on Boise State.
There's a day of reckoning for Andy Katz, and that day is today. Also joining us today, Marcus Zegarowski, point guard of your Creighton Blue Jays. We're going to be talking to him coming up in a little bit.
Yeah, the Gonzaga fans asked, they said, why would you curse us? Why would you have Corey Kispert on? And we said, not so fast. We are going to have Zegarowski on. So it's even. It's 1-1. We have not cursed anyone. Who knows who wins? It's not our fault. So that's perfect.
I'm excited to talk to both these guys. In the meantime, let's talk about the Sweet 16.
Yes.
That seems to be a good topic to break down here. So the last time you and I spoke on the air was immediately after USC. The game wasn't even over. USC was beating the brakes off of Kansas. Our thoughts were we were in real time spitting our thoughts out as we were watching that happen, and we were trying to understand what the Sweet 16 looked like. We've had time to sleep on it. We've had time to
I will say this. I feel like I got washed over, the first 4 days of the NCAA tournament. I was trying to recalibrate, trying to assess, trying to get my bearings. And, got a day to sleep in, got a day to try to figure it out. And I still sit here, Mark Titus, and you open up the show, you say, Pac-12 update, this is where we are. USC handed Kansas its worst NCAA tournament loss in its history.
Of all time.
Of all time.
All time.
And that is what we're seeing, historical things in Indianapolis. And I think that's really where I want to start. I mean, we have a lot of legacies on the line. We have a lot of, historic programs that are trying to make a name for themselves, get back into the fold, whether it be at Houston and Arkansas. We have some new blood types, whether it be an Oral Roberts, that's trying to make its first Elite Eight. There's a lot of storylines, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to talk about legacies a little bit because we had a tweet sent to us that got some thoughts ruminating. There we go.
Yes, there we go.
The college coaches with the most to gain from a Final Four national
coming from the
championship.
journalists.
By the way,
of
if you're watching us live, be sure you can tweet at us or comment on YouTube, whatever. We'll address them. If you have questions for Andy too, that'd be fun. Ask Andy questions so that way we can pin it on you guys.
Yes,
we can just be
we're like Andy.
I would never
ask this, Andy.
But this is
the fans. The fans are asking this.
The people want to know, so we're going to ask you this. So anyway, we're gonna be talking about this in a second, like legacies and all that, because that's a fun discussion. But is there any big picture thing other than the Pac-12? Like what is something as you look at the field, at the final 16 teams, what jumps out to us? What is the big picture takeaway? Do you want me to go first? I have one note.
Yeah, go ahead.
My only note was I noticed that if you go on KenPom.com, I want to be sure to
make sure you shout him out.
Yeah, KenPom.
We always shout out KenPom on this show.
We do. All jokes aside, we do all the time. I don't understand KenPom at all, but I trust him with my life. And KenPom tells me the top 25 defenses. So stick with me on this. Of the top 25 KenPom defenses, 7 are represented in the Sweet 16, whereas 11 top 25 offenses are represented. And that doesn't even include Alabama, who is somehow outside of the top 25. But, come on, Alabama's offense is
KenPom, redo the algorithm.
So my point is, one big takeaway I have here is that a lot of scoring, a lot of efficient offense, a lot of making shots from these Sweet 16 teams, we'll say. That's a big picture takeaway I have. This is not a you were talking about teams that like to muck it up. There are a couple left, but for the most part, these teams make shots.
Yes.
So that's a big takeaway.
Yeah, my big takeaway, and as I look forward, I think, we came into this tournament and I was set on a Big Ten title I was set on the fact that, we need a 21st century title. I know it happened in 2000, but to me, that's, that's of the past. You know what I mean? So you got to have it now. And Michigan is our last team. It is the Big Ten team that we look at, that they have a real shot. But I have pivoted. It is not a Big Ten year. It's a Pac-12 year or a Pac-10 year. The first title.
Evan Turner.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Evan Turner gets it.
He's using emojis.
I mean, throwing up. This is bogus, bruh. We all lost. That Big Ten tourney wore everybody down. We did say that on our last show. Shout out to Evan for saying that. But I think it's a Pac-12 tournament. I have turned to the Pac-12 needs a title in the 21st century. The last one was in 1997. You got Oregon. You got USC. Unfortunately, they play each other. But I'm saying this, Titus. Whoever wins that game, I feel really good about their chances against Gonzaga.
I do too.
I really do.
I don't feel good. I don't feel really good in the sense of like they will be favored or anything.
No. I'm just saying it's not a good matchup for Gonzaga.
Right.
I'm not going to say it's a bad matchup.
Right. It's not a great matchup.
It's not a good matchup.
If that is the first gate, like I don't know, Creighton's a good basketball team.
Yeah, we have Zegarowski coming up.
Yeah, we have him on the show. I don't mean to disparage Creighton basketball, but if I'm Gonzaga. Well, you don't look ahead, I guess. That's the point of the NCAA tournament.
Corey Kispert said every single team they play now, top 15 team.
I won't even make the point I was going to make then. I'm gonna bail on it. I'm going to hit the eject button.
But that's my big picture thought. I think I now think I see a path where maybe the Pac-12/Pac-10 makes some noise.
Very, very good. So let's talk about sort of taking your point, taking the tweet we saw earlier that I want to talk about, because this is always a fascinating discussion. Is not this one.
All I see here is they're asking if you're a masshole.
Not this one. Definitely not this one. But one of the cool things about college basketball is that every program is kind of playing for something different. We all pretend that every program is playing for a national title. That's not true. We know that's not true. We know that Oral Roberts, they're not playing for national title. They don't go into every season and say one of our goals is to win. I mean, maybe they do, but they're delusional if they do. But they're here nonetheless, and that's fun and that's exciting. We should be celebrating that. That's what makes March Madness fun, is these fun underdog stories. On the other hand, you have Gonzaga, where if Gonzaga ends up going to the national title game, it goes to 12 overtimes and they lose by 1. That's a failure.
Yes.
That's where Gonzaga has arrived. They must win the national title or else this season is a failure. And I'm always fascinated by that, because I feel like this is a unique sport in that regard, where, like the NBA doesn't work that way. Obviously the Lakers want to tie it. You have expectations going into the season, team by team, but every franchise is trying to win an NBA championship. Their goal is like, we're going to tank now so we can win an NBA, whatever. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, of course.
In college, some of these programs are like, we're probably never going to win a national title, but what if we can make an Elite Eight run? That would be awesome. We'll talk about that around here forever.
Yeah, let's be Cinderella 1 year.
Just 1 year.
And that's how Gonzaga started, right? I mean, they were like, we just want to be Cinderella. We want to make some noise in the tournament. And then slowly over time, you get past the Cinderella stage. In general, college basketball, for a small major program, if you're lucky, like a Gonzaga or a Butler or even a Louisville. Think about where Louisville was just as a school and how much they've climbed. Like,
you have a bunch of farmland and like a couple silos with
they were in Conference USA, and then they're all the way to the ACC. So like in general college sports, there is a ladder, a sort of a pecking order that you have to climb. And when you look at Gonzaga, they've checked all the boxes. In fact, they went all the way to the other side, where they went from the Cinderella to they were getting upset by Steph Curry, who was the Cinderella.
Right.
Then they become the powerhouse. Then they go to their first Final Four. Then they go to their first title game. Then they lost in their first title game, and now they have to win their first title. Right? They're at that point.
They're at the top.
So that's a respect to Gonzaga. Not to say if they lose, dismiss, throw it all out. It's just to say that's where they are.
They've
on the
arrived.
ladder.
I don't know if they're a blue blood or not. Probably not. They haven't won a championship yet, but they have arrived at that blue blood expectation of we have to win a national title. Title or bust.
Yep.
Yeah, and especially this team. So I want to do that today. That's what I want to do for our preview, is kind of go through team by team and try to figure out what is the expectation, what is on the line legacy-wise for coaches, for programs. Try to suss it out of like, what are we trying to accomplish? What are each of these teams trying to accomplish?
Love it.
And to do that, I did the only thing we know how to do when we're organizing our thoughts on the show, which is put things into tiers. Andy Katz taught me that.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. So I decided to tier them like this. I'm going to start at the top. So I'll do my tiers, and then I guess maybe for the purpose of the show, you can just say if you agree or
I'll agree if or add someone to that tier. Yeah, that's easy. That's easy.
So my first tier is, this is the must win the title tier. And what I mean by that is kind of what we just said. It's like the title or bust. We nothing else will do. Nothing everything else will feel like a failure. and I have one team, and it's Gonzaga. Gonzaga is the only team. Gonzaga has been to the Final Four, as you said. They've been to 4 Elite Eights. This is all they have left to do. They're undefeated. So, I don't think an undefeated season is something that had to be done this year. I think you still respect Gonzaga if they win the national title, and they lost a couple games along the way, obviously. But now that they're here and they're undefeated, I think they have to finish this thing off, right?
Absolutely. And I think we're at the point where if they don't, like you said, even if it's a 12 overtime game, we have all the naysayers say, see, I told you they couldn't win the big one. And I think that's where Mark Few is. It kind of reminds me a little bit.
The big ones always move, by the way.
Exactly.
It used to be the Elite Eight game.
It is literally the goalposts are always being moved. That is what is going on. And I remember when Phil Mickelson, not to make it a golf reference, but Phil Mickelson his whole career, right? I mean, he goes and loses, to Payne Stewart, in the U.S. Open. He's number 2. We all remember that moment in time, and everyone's like, man, I wonder if Phil's ever going to win one. 3 years go by, still hasn't won one. I don't think he's ever going to win one, Then finally the 04 Masters comes. Everything kind of comes together in this beautiful moment. He wins his first major. Monkeys off the back, we move on, and now he's one of the greatest golfers we know. Then, it does feel like Gonzaga. This could be the 04 Masters.
Well, no, Phil wins the first one, and then you go, but can he do it again? Was that a fluke?
Then wing fluke. They're like, then it blows up. Yeah, you're right. I guess it never ends. But at the end of the day, I do think Gonzaga is at that crucial point where there's a world. Mark Few will maybe, if he goes to the Final Four, will probably have the most experience in that Final Four as we talk about coaches. So I think this will be the first time that Gonzaga feels comfortable in that situation, as opposed to, we're trying to kick the door down.
That's
and make
a good point.
Noise.
I'm looking around here. Like Jay Wright could be the Jay
I'm
Wright
talking
or Jim. I'm saying
on who I expect to be.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the only way it's not is if Jay Wright or Jim Boeheim, or that's pretty much it. Leonard Hamilton, I guess. Those would be the 3.
But Leonard Hamilton's never been
But he's
there.
never been to the Final Four.
Exactly.
So it's like, you're right. Mark Few is going to be the old head.
He's going to be a veteran for the first time.
And on top of all that, Gonzaga a national title for Gonzaga would complete the greatest rags to riches story in college basketball history.
Zags to riches.
Zags to riches. 1995 was this program's first NCAA tournament appearance. 1995, Tate. That's the first NCAA. That's not because we know in '99 they go to the Elite Eight. We know that.
New blood. I'm giving a point to the new bloods.
In 1994, Gonzaga basketball had never in the history of the program made an NCAA tournament, a single NCAA tournament. They've never been a 16 seed and lost by 40 in the first round. They've never even done that. And now we're saying the words, if they don't win the title, it's a failure. It's amazing.
And they were in a conference with, Bill Russell was there at one point. I mean, they're in a historic conference, and they were not the powerhouse program in that conference. And then they came to be late in life. They're a new blood.
There you go. My next tier is must make the Final Four.
I like this.
So they don't
I'm having fun with these tiers.
They're fun tiers. This isn't, you don't necessarily have to win the title, but it's kind of what Gonzaga was a few years ago, which is you've done everything else there is to do. We got to get over the hump now. We got to make the Final Four. Can they do it? Obviously Baylor.
Baylor is the Gonzaga of 2017 right now.
Yes. Baylor, and also a rags to riches story. I mean, it's been publicized greatly, obviously.
We call this a bags to riches story.
Yeah, there you go. Bags to riches. What Scott Drew inherited at that program, one of the best turnaround jobs in the history of college basketball, how we got to this point. But what is this point has been the question. That's why we always joke about it. Is Scott Drew good? Is the program actually good? Whatever, because they're always good enough to be in the conversation, but are they good enough to make Final Fours? Are they good enough to win conference championships? And they won a conference championship this year. But now
that's why I just gave it a new blood got a point. 1950, the last time Baylor won a conference championship.
You're excited to be back in the new studio, by the way, with the blue blood scoreboard.
It's been a long time. And last time I was here, I don't know what was going on. The scoreboard had turned against me. They were like, the score is set. Don't change anything. So it's good to have the new blood conversation. But you're right. Baylor, Scott Drew, they have to get to the Final Four. They have to get over that hurdle. And then once they do that, like you said, the goalpost will be moved to now you have to win the title.
To win the title. But that's how we're at that stage now. Yes. Scott Drew has been the Elite Eight twice. Baylor last year for 5 weeks was ranked #1 in the country. So we're done. You've done everything else there is to do, and especially winning the Big 12 this year, you've done everything else.
In 2010,
now we need the Final Four.
2010, the first time that they go there with Scott Drew, they play a Duke team, not a very good Duke team, a team that should have never won a national championship, and they should have won that game, and like Scott Drew, he learned the Duke way that night, but I do feel like Baylor and this team, they have a real shot to make a real run. So I'm excited for them.
Those two are obvious. So it gets this could be where the discussion starts to happen. I also have in my must make the Final Four tier Florida State.
Agreed.
You agree with that?
Yes, Coach Hamilton. So the big push, Roy Williams said it after they beat Florida State this year in Chapel Hill. He said Leonard Hamilton should be a lock for the Hall of Fame. And then you have, of course, the people that come back and say, why?
He's never made the Final Four.
He's never made a Final Four.
Yeah.
He's never done this. He's never done that. But obviously, Leonard Hamilton is a pillar in the game of college basketball. He's been around through so many iterations of the sport. He is literally an icon living. And I think if he goes to this Final Four, we finally get to give him his flowers. So for me, that's why he has to do this.
Florida State's only Final Four is 1972.
Also, Florida State a new blood.
Well, that's what I was going to say, too, is that they've been really leaning into hashtag new blood. And if you're
Leonard Hamilton
new blood,
invented new blood, by the way.
If you're going to be a new blood, you gotta have some blood. You gotta make the Final Four to be even even a new blood, right?
Yes.
Yes. 2018, they're playing Michigan, which coincidentally, a lot of 2018 themes in this tournament.
Loyola,
Musselman, Michigan, Florida State. Others,
that could be the Final Four, you know?
Villanova,
right. Yeah.
So Florida State, Leonard Hamilton 1-3 in Sweet 16 games in his career. He has won the old Big East before. He has won the new ACC titles. So the two of the strongest conferences in college basketball history. But he's never been to a Final Four. We need that. I don't know. Florida State's going to bring a lot of guys back, I think, and they're going to be good for a while moving forward. So it's not like now or never, but at the same time, that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting on Florida State to make the leap, make the jump, get the Final Four.
And it does seem like with Florida State this year as a 4 seed, there is less expectation on them to do it, which I feel better about. A lot of times with Florida State, you see the writing on the wall. They have the talent. You expect it to be the year, and they come up short. So fingers crossed for Coach Ham.
Also, in my must make the Final Four tier, I have the Houston Cougars, who have averaged 27 wins per season over the last 4 years. This is just the program's second Sweet 16 since Phi Slamma Jamma, though. So maybe it's a little premature to say Houston must make that. Maybe it's like that's a next year conversation. But Houston's getting to the point now where they're winning a ton of games in the American, and I'm ready to not think that they're frauds anymore. I'm ready for them to say, shut up. Here you go. Here's a Final Four for you.
To me, yeah, I think you're 100% right on the fact that they do need to make some noise, at least have something to hang their hat on, right? I mean, the Sweet 16 is a good start. I think this got us somewhere where we can, at least put a banner up and say, hey, we're back in the Sweet 16. Remember Phi Slamma Jamma, remember Akib, remember how great we used to be. Clyde Drexler, we remember when he came back and tried to coach this program. That did not go well. So we've had Houston try to tap into that period in time and not be able to do it. I'm happy for Sampson that he's been able to create this new iteration of Houston. I'm not sure that they have to make a Final Four, but they have to be respectable if they lose this game, right? Like if Syracuse comes in here, it has to be respectable. Like if Syracuse comes in and blows them out, and Buddy Boeheim hits 9-10 threes, and Jim Boeheim's giving the 2 to Lou pretty soon. That's not good for Houston, the program, because like you said, we have the greatest facade working in our favor, which is we are a 25 win. We are up with the new bloods, the blue bloods, whatever. We're one of those teams. And you have to play up to that level on this stage because now people are actually watching. And this is what we take away, right? I mean, the general consensus comes from the tournament, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Regardless of what happens at the regular season, that's what happens.
Also, Kelvin Sampson has been to one Final Four. It was 2002 with Oklahoma. And you know who they lost to?
Yeah.
Indiana. Isn't that funny? Funny how life works sometimes.
And
that's his only Final Four appearance.
Sampson was a 1 seed at Oklahoma that year in the tournament. Hughes also obviously goes on to win the tournament. And apparently...
No, this was 02.
Oh, this is 02. Oh, so I'm talking about 03.
Yeah.
03 was when Sampson was the 1 seed with Oklahoma. But they played... Syracuse and Houston, last time they played was in 2003. So a lot of Syracuse fans are bringing this up, trying to. But the last time we saw 2003 brought up, it was by Cade Cunningham.
I was gonna say maybe Cade Cunningham was right.
Don't bring up 03.
No, maybe Cade Cunningham was right. It was like this is gonna be 2003 all over again, and Syracuse fans were like, "You're damn right."
You're right. It's just there's our Carmelo. His name's Buddy Boeheim.
So those are that's my must make the Final Four tier.
That's good. I think that's a good tier.
I call this next tier we would like it, but we don't need it yet. So maybe Houston belongs in this, but I don't know. Houston, I decided.
When you say that, I think Arkansas is the first team.
Arkansas is the first team that jumps out. I'm going to go through them real quick because
please.
I have 4. I have a handful on here, but 4 of them are coaches who are in year 2: Arkansas, Alabama, UCLA, Michigan. All of these are in my. We don't need it yet because we have a coach who's in year 2.
We have the promise of a future.
We're building something here. We're very good. We would love it. As I said, we would love it. If I'm Alabama, I think I'm good enough to win a national title this year. I would love to go win the national championship. But if Alabama chokes along the way, if Alabama loses a close one in the Elite Eight,
we got time.
We got time.
We got time.
We're very early in this process. Yep. Arkansas they're not happy to be here. They're a program that won the 1994 title. They went to the title game in 95, almost went back-to-back. They have a lot of history, but it's been a while. 1996 is the last Sweet 16, so there's a little bit of that of like, okay, we got that monkey off our back. Now it would be nice to get back to the glory days, but we don't need it yet because we trust that Muss is going to be here, and he's definitely not going to take the Indiana job. And we're building something here, right? So Arkansas. That's how I explain this to you. I think Arkansas is a good one.
I will say this: Arkansas has the 6th most Final Fours.
That's pretty
all
wild.
time.
That's
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
the schools in front of them are North Carolina, UCLA, Kansas, Michigan State, Ohio State. So our schools on that list. Shout out to us, but shout out to Arkansas because I think a lot of people when they hear the program or hear the school, they do not necessarily think basketball. Maybe they think, like you said, the mid '90s.
Right.
That was this peak period of
Corliss
Arkansas.
Williamson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is a
40
program,
minutes of hell.
This program has been around for quite some time. I'm glad that Muss has tapped into the sleeping giant. And I think if you're an Arkansas fan, you have to take a little bit of pride and say, we expect to be in the Final Four. That's who we are as a program. And that's the only reason I would say maybe you bump them up.
I think you say that out loud, but then deep down
you're in
like,
this tier.
You're like,
yeah.
wow.
You're like, I'm okay, though.
It's good to be back at the Sweet 16. Yeah. Alabama has never made a Final Four in the program's history. The only Elite Eight they ever made was 2004. So, again, I think the expectation in Tuscaloosa has now become like we're building something here. Nate Oates is killing it on the recruiting trail. He's talking smack to Coach K. Alabama is giving him a ton of money, and there's a promise for the future. So we don't need to do it now, but at the same time, we got a pretty good team now. So that would be nice if we make it happen.
And
now.
Alabama would be the first team outside of Florida to win a national championship in football and basketball in the same year if they were able to do it this year.
I don't need to be reminded of that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Greg.
Also, UCLA. You disagree with this one. I have UCLA on this list because Mick Cronin. It's year 2 for Mick Cronin. You lose Chris Smith. Tears every ligament in his knee. Tears
the
his
Cinderella of Westwood. The program has won the most national championships. So good. Love it.
UCLA is not.
You can't have it both ways, UCLA.
Yeah, yes, they can. They literally can. They're doing it. That's how they do it. That is UCLA fandom. It's like they figure out a way to have it both ways. UCLA has not been to the Elite Eight since 2008, since the Ben Howland run to 3 straight Final Fours. And they've been a little since as you brought up to me off the air, that Ben Howland was like, no one cares if we can go to the Final Four at UCLA. You have to win national titles.
Yep.
And then UCLA said, that's a good point. You're fired. And then since then they've been wandering in the desert trying to figure it out, and now they're back in the Sweet 16. But it's year 2 for Mick Cronin, so like I think UCLA, obviously the standard for the program is to get back to competing for national titles, but they have time.
Yes.
They have Peyton Watson coming in next year. Mick Cronin is building something. This was not supposed to be the year that like they compete for the title per se.
We said it was the year of 2018. I think it may have been the year of 1995 because when I think of UCLA and Arkansas, that's the year I think of. And I think of Jim Herrick, and I think of, like you said, this was a period in time where they knew what the standard was of UCLA basketball. We have to do whatever it takes, however many escalades we have to get. We have to win a national championship. They did it in 95. They were like, we're set, we're good. Arizona won it in 97. They're like, baby, Pac-12, who's going to stop the Pac-10? You know what I mean? We're unstoppable with basketball. Now it's 2021. We're so far removed from that period in time. And UCLA has now become an underdog of sorts. And in this tournament, their defense has been able to get to a level to compete and to contend. And the best part about it, as Ben Howland went through the washover period where UCLA fans had to marinate and say, I guess it isn't national championships or bust. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's not who we are. And Final Fours were pretty cool. We didn't enjoy them because we did lose, but man, I really wish we should have, because 2008 feels like forever ago. It's the best thing that ever happened to Mick Cronin, because now Sweet 16 feels great.
It feels great.
And Elite 8 feels amazing.
Yeah.
If they go to the Final Four, dadgummit, this is the greatest thing that's happened to UCLA basketball I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, he got the stench off of the whole program.
He's
Thank
amazing.
you, Ben Howland.
The Wizard of Westwood, they call him.
And that's why, for me, UCLA, even being in this tier, I'm like, you know what I mean? Just they're happy to be here almost, and that is crazy to think about when you look at this program all the time.
UCLA is going to be very good next year, though.
Yeah. Peyton Watson.
They're bringing a lot of these guys back, and I actually have them at number. Where did I have them? 12 or 13 on my top 14 and a half. Way too early. My way too early top 14 and a half. I have UCLA at 12. for next season. Yeah, that's how much I believe.
Okay.
The other one, the last one I had was Michigan in the year two coach, 2018, 2013 runner-up, as we know. Juwan Howard is building. It's the same thing. Number one recruiting class next year. I think Michigan would love to. Obviously, they're a one seed this year. They would love to do it, but no Isaiah Livers. The future is bright in Ann Arbor. They don't need it this year per se.
If Beeline was still at Michigan, this is a very hypothetical situation, but if Beeline was still there, they would be in Gonzaga's territory. That's all I want to say. Like if we had John Beeline and they lost in 2013 and we have 2018, they would be, we have to win a title. That would be where the fan base is. That's where Beeline would be. That's where the program would be. And I think, in my opinion, that's the beauty of Juwan Howard, right? He got this great situation where you should be contending for a national championship based on the precedent that was set by your predecessor, but you still have the luxury of, like, we got time, we have a bright future, we'll figure it out.
Right. Next on my list, by the way, is Creighton, and we can talk about Creighton ourselves, but why should we talk about Creighton when we have a man with us now who knows more about Creighton basketball than anybody? It is the star point guard of the Creighton Blue Jays, Marcus Zegarowski. And Marcus, I want to just say this: the Creighton Blue Jays are in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1974. When you're on your recruiting trip and you're being shown all the great players that have been through there, all the great teams that have played in Omaha, and you hear those words out loud that this is the first time since 1974, what goes through your mind?
It's just surreal. I just think it just shows how much time we put into this season and just how much work we put in. And I'm just so happy, to be able to be the first team, especially since, there's been so many great teams that have came through here. And, obviously, without those teams, there is no, Sweet 16 for us. So credit to them as well.
Mm-hmm. And Marcus, I have to ask this because you guys, coming to this tournament, you get a very tough draw traditionally. You get a 5-12 game. That's always, people love the upset. You have a test against UCSB. Then you take on the Cinderella story in Ohio, and you guys are able to knock them out. Are you happy now to at least not be playing a Cinderella team and at least you can be the underdog and enjoy that experience finally?
I mean, I try and approach every game, the same, especially in March Madness where, every team is able to beat you. But, obviously, everyone had us, losing that first game. And then, a lot of people had us losing, this next game. But, the key for me is just focus on, what I can control. And, that's my teammates and my coaching staff.
Yeah, that is the desire is just treat every game the same. But coming up, you guys are now playing the team that has been ranked number one in the country the entire season. They're undefeated. It is a team that most are expecting to win the national championship. Obviously, you said the first two rounds, maybe people didn't give you guys much of a shot. They're really not going to give you a shot in this one, Marcus. Is that something that I'm sure you guys are talking about going into this game? What is the vibe in the locker room? Is you try to treat every game the same, but this one has to feel a little different, doesn't it?
Yeah, this one around is definitely different. I mean, Gonzaga is, they've been number one the whole year. They're everyone has them winning the whole thing, and I'm just excited. And then for me, I'm just trying to, just tell my teammates and just make sure we're confident going into this game and believe we can win because I think we can win.
Mm-hmm. And Marcus, I have to ask, just from the basketball, being in the controlled environment, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, watching all the games, are you enjoying that? Because we've had some of the other guys come on and say, Corey Kispert told us, he was like, all I do is just watch the games in my downtime. Is that what you're doing as well? Or are you trying to do your best to play your game and then kind of just chill and stay out of all the other BS while you get ready for your next game?
Yeah, I brought my Xbox.
There you go.
Playing that, playing that, Wi-Fi is pretty good, so that's good. And but yeah, I mean, I'll watch some games. I have some friends on other teams that are playing in this tournament as well, so I just watch them and support them. But yeah, I can't lie, it is pretty boring, but it's out of our control.
Marcus, I'm sure you're aware of this. When you guys beat Ohio to advance to the Sweet 16, you played this game in Hinkle Fieldhouse. I believe this was your first win in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Were you aware of this before I brought this up?
Yeah, I think it's Coach Mac's first win in Hinkle Fieldhouse. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, that was. I mean, I was aware of it. There were a lot of conversations about not being able to win there in the past. But I try not to get too in depth with that. I mean, they changed the rims and changed the court, so that was good.
Well, I had we had that observation because we noticed some of the Big Ten teams were like losing in Mackey Arena, and it dawned on me that you guys had never really won in Hinkle, and I was thinking, man, that's kind of cruel of the NCAA that you guys lose in Hinkle all the time, and then like, go play in Hinkle again. And I'm sure there's some part of you walking into that arena and you're like, damn it, not again. We have to do this again. Speaking of your run in the Big East, you guys in the Big East tournament, we'll say you laid an egg. We'll soften it.
Yeah.
We'll say just against Georgetown in the Big East title game, things did not go well. How have for guys like Tate and I, we try to figure out based on what happens in conference tournament play what we're going to see out of teams in NCAA tournament, and it's all over the place. There are teams like you look at the Big Ten, Illinois and Ohio State, they play for the Big Ten title, and they're both out, and they both were bad. And meanwhile, Georgetown, who beat you guys, they lose in the first round. You guys are playing well. So what is it? What was your secret? How does a team like Creighton play so poorly, we'll say, in the title game, the Big East title game, and you've turned it around now? Now you're playing good basketball again. What was that turnaround like?
I mean, obviously, yeah, we definitely laid an egg versus Georgetown. It was one of those games where just nothing was going our way and everything was falling for Georgetown. And the key for us was to just focus on, the next step, and that's March Madness. We knew we could, either fold from this or build on it. And, as of late, we're building on it, and, the key for us is just keep it going.
Mm-hmm. And Marcus, I've heard a lot of, some of the players, like some of the older players in this tournament have talked about trying to just get to the tournament, trying to get to this point in time, and then they were going to be, ready to turn it on. Was there a little bit of that with you? You guys are more of a veteran team a little bit where you're just like, I just want to get to March, and then we'll lock in, and then we'll go. Has it been a relief to finally get to this point?
Yeah, especially this year where it's been tough. We're all in unfamiliar territory with this year with, a lot of games with no fans and just with COVID controlling a lot of things. But and for us to get here and especially getting our season taken away last year on such a high note,
yep.
Getting here now, it kind of feels like, oh, we're finally here, and now it's time to really capitalize on it. And as of late we are, and I'm excited to see what comes forward.
Yeah.
I got to ask you about one of your teammates because this is a man I've fallen in love with. His name is Mitch Ballack, and he will shoot from anywhere on the court. In fact, I want to show you something because I was watching this Seton Hall game, and I was just gobsmacked at what I saw, and I broke it down. So I want you to watch it. You weren't on the court for this, so I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to show you this, and then get your thoughts from what your perspective was. Do we have the clip?
Right out of the gate, we have a horn set. He goes left, not a surprise, but holy we're putting him in the blender. Now, Ballack has a lot of options here. He could shoot it, but he's got a hand in his face. Probably not the smart play. Could dump it in, but that's only worth 2 points, and we're Creighton. We don't like that. We're going to swing it, throw it to the corner, drive and kick off the face. The whole reason we did all that is to get this ball right here in our leading scorer's hands. He's got the ball right there, enough space to make a play, a lot of options. Let's see what he decides. Oh, well...
So when you see that, Marcus, you weren't on the court for that. You were on the bench for that. This is something that happens all the time. The Mitch just pulls from there. Have you ever been surprised by him? Has he ever shot? Have you ever been on a court with him? You pass him the ball and he shoots, and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't see that coming."
He's been doing it since I've been in college. He works on it every day. Like I see it, after or after every practice, he just works on those half court shots. He shoots them deeper in practice. But then in games, it's like easy. So, my perspective, it's like it's a regular shot for him.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like from your point of view, you're like, wow, this is crazy. But like I see it every day, so it's like it's regular for him. And it's a crazy. He's done it so many times since I've been in college, and hopefully he gets one in versus Gonzaga.
Has coach ever pulled him aside and been like, all right, Mitch, that's you got a green light, but not that green. Come on, you're not Steph Curry here.
Nah, he's never really said that because coach sees him work on it as well in practice.
Yeah.
So he's big. Well, if you work on it, you can do it in the game.
Well, you have just inspired a generation of kids watching this
Yes.
that are like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna go
don't
to the
blame
gym.
Steph Curry. Blame Mitch.
All these kids are gonna be like, Coach, I've been working on this, and I've been working on my half court shot.
Coach, I watched Creighton play.
I'm allowed to do this. Marcus, thanks so much for giving us some time, man. Best of luck against Gonzaga. Go surprise some more people.
Play some Xbox. Chill out. Enjoy yourself.
Yep, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Marcus.
Thanks, Marcus.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was great. I'm so glad that you played that clip. That was such a great moment in time.
I was so glad that he is unfazed by it. That's because that's what I expected. I was worried that some small part of him's like, yeah, we hate it when he does that.
Yeah.
we hate that. We hate that there's 8 seconds left on the shot clock and Mitch Ballock's like,
I got it. Yeah, swing it. Do we have more of your?
Well,
your
yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
so next on my list was Creighton, and it felt weird to. We had Marcus on the line. I didn't want to talk about
Marcus. Talk about your legacies. Break down the legacy.
He's like, I'm just trying to play Xbox, man. So hang on, where were we? We were at Creighton. Yeah, Creighton was on my list of would like it, but we don't need it yet. Because as we said, this is their first Sweet 16 since 1974.
Creighton's a new blood. We'll give him a point.
This is Greg McDermott's first Sweet 16 in his entire career.
You mean Doug McDermott Sr.?
Doug McDermott Sr.
We have found this fascinating. A lot of people, I mean, I'm guilty of this at times. Call Greg McDermott Doug McDermott, and
it's the G's. It's the G on the end.
And sometimes they just say senior, just to like clarify, and it's a fun bit. But yeah, Creighton to me, they're perfectly in this category. I think
never made a Final Four in program history.
Making the Sweet 16, getting the 1974 stat out of the way, that was huge.
They also Creighton. I was surprised by this because Creighton basketball has been I've been aware of the Creighton program for a while,
quite some time.
But I would have assumed that this was not true, but it is that only 5 teams in the program's history have been ranked in the top 10 at some point in the season. Only 5 seasons has that happened, and 4 of them have been in the last 8 years.
Wow.
Does that make sense, what I just said to you?
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense.
So, like, a lot of their run of success has been recently.
So it's new blood.
It is very much new blood. And for that reason, I think they would like to have it because Creighton has been, in my mind, Creighton has been a national player for a while. And
since, like, the 70s.
Yeah. Well, and even the
Greg,
when
I was a kid,
even the Greg McDermott era has been, they've been the foil for Villanova. It feels like every single year. It's like every year you go in, you're like, all right, Villanova's probably going to win the Big East, but Creighton could challenge them.
Yeah, it's kind of like the St. Mary's of
They're the St. Mary's of the Big East.
Exactly.
And for them to now get over the Sweet 16 hump, I think there's not a feeling of we're happy to be here. I think they could beat Gonzaga. I think that they match up well with Gonzaga. But at the same time, there's no Creighton fan on earth is like, we must win this game.
You know what's really funny? Last year we did our preview for the tournament as we were talking about things, and Zegarowski was I think our #1 Kimba candidate. You know what I mean? And now we go into this year, we spent the whole year, you almost get fatigued by guys, and you don't even think about it, Zegarowski, and he has obviously gotten his guys to the Sweet 16.
Finally on my list of we would love it, but we don't need it, is USC. This is just their second Elite Eight since 1954. Or no, they are seeking their second Elite Eight. I'm sorry. If they win they went to the Elite Eight in 2001. They've not been to the Final Four since 1954. I think USC is they're very good. Obviously, Evan Mobley's awesome. Isaiah Mobley is we talked about him too.
Great. Yeah.
But yeah, no USC fans like we have to win the title. We have to. There is no more expectation for USC.
I was gonna say you can see it right here, Dick Vitale. The fact that he tweeted "tip of the hat" to USC hoops and Andy Enfield, that already says your job is done. You know what I mean? That says that you have impressed us. You have showed us something on the national stage, and we're okay with it.
As it pertains to Andy Enfield, he was in dangerous Shaka territory for a second, where. Shaka had
Dunk City makes the run. He gets the big job, and then everyone's
doesn't really do anything since then.
Do it again.
Yeah, do it again. He's like, I can't. I don't even know how I did it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how I did it the first time.
He was like, make us a 15 seed, and I'll try.
I don't know how I did it the first time. Enfield had in 2017, USC wins the play-in game. Then they play SMU in the first round, an 11-6 matchup. They beat SMU by 2. And those are the only 2 NCAA tournament wins that Andy Enfield had at USC before this season.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he did the run with that Florida Gulf Coast. Not a whole lot to show for it since. So now he's shown something. He's shown us something. But with that, that's why I don't think any USC fans like, now we have to definitely get to the Final Four. I'm going to be bummed out. Like, you'd like to. You just beat the snot out of Oregon last time you played them. But, I think you have some reasonable expectations here.
I remember in like 2015, 2016, or maybe a little bit before that, there was like USC was set on the Bagleys. They were going to have the Bagley
they offered
family.
the entire Bagley
exactly.
family.
And on the flip side, UCLA offered the whole Ball family. And it felt like, this was going to be kind of like the dominoes towards the future of these two programs. And the fact that we're here, we're not associated with either one of those. Marcus Bagley's at Arizona State. Marvin ends up going to Duke. History is history. LaMelo, get get better soon. But regardless, USC, UCLA on the flip side of that are totally. I mean, these look like top-tier programs, and you got potentially the #1 pick in Evan Mobley.
Yep.
And if you're Gonzaga, that whole drive and kick, fluid motion offense that you got going on, it's going to look a little bit different when that guy's rim protecting.
Yeah.
And it's not an option to go drive to the basket and, you know what I mean, kicking it out is what they want you to do because we got the rim protected. USC is a team that if they could get past Oregon, they're on high alert for me.
The Elite Eight, you're saying the Elite Eight game for Gonzaga has your attention, whether it's Oregon or USC.
If Oregon beats USC, I think that's good news for Gonzaga. That's what I'm saying.
I disagree with that. I think either one is bad news for not bad news in that these teams are going to be better.
He's a bad matchup.
Oregon's a bad matchup. I think they're both bad matchups for
Oregon.
Gonzaga.
I feel a little bit better about, but he's singular. Like this kid is different. I just want to say, if you haven't watched Evan Mobley, just watch him play. As far as the defensive side of the ball, not even on offense. I mean, I understand you could see it on offense. You're like, oh, this guy has huge hands, a lot of ability. I see the foundation for something great. But defensively, he already is great.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying I also think Oregon. I think just whoever wins.
Yeah.
I don't think if I'm a Gonzaga fan, I'm cheering for either team. I'm just because I
am cheering for Oregon. As someone pulling for Gonzaga to win this championship to make it make sense, I am pulling for Oregon.
All right. So USC, they were last on my would like it, but they don't need it yet list. So my next tier is the been there, done that tier. And the reason I put this is because to me, these are the four programs that have to win a national title to really shake up Legacies or to make a difference in terms of how we view
to make a dent in any way.
Because they've already gone to the Final Four recently. They've already they've been there. They've done that. The only thing that you can do at this point is add trophies. So that's why they're at that tier. And the four are Syracuse, Villanova, Oregon, and Loyola. Those are my four. Syracuse has, as a double-digit seed, made the Final Four. We saw that in 2016. Jim Boeheim has already won a title. Now, if Jim Boeheim wins another title, unlikely with this team, but
2003. We already heard it.
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows? If Jim Boeheim adds another title, the critics, the haters they're silenced forever, right? And also, he might retire. If Jim Boeheim wins a title this year, he's retiring in his press conference, right? Buddy's going pro. Buddy Boeheim's going pro. And Jim's like, I'm done. This is all I've ever wanted, is to win a title with the real Carmelo, my son.
Yes. He's like, this is how it was supposed to look. You know what I mean? Like, this is the better version of 2003. We also got Carmelo shouting out Buddy Boeheim, calling him a shooter. Buddy Boeheim called himself a bucket. Shout out to Tyler Hero. He said, I am Buddy Buckets. Let me introduce myself to the world. I do think you're right, though. If Buddy Boeheim goes if he goes to the Final Four, he's going to the draft. And I think if he goes to the draft, Jim Boeheim is looking around and saying, what am I doing here? Yeah.
But in terms of Boeheim's legacy of how we view Syracuse as a program, all that kind of stuff, if they go to the Final Four, I don't think it really changes much, does it?
Cool.
I don't think that changes. I think Syracuse has to win a title for us to view Boeheim differently, or he's already a legend. He's already won everything. He's been there. He's done that.
My one gripe, when you show the wins, when you show the graphic, everyone shows the graphic. You know what I mean? Show the updated graphic. That's all I got to say for Jim Boeheim.
The ones without the wins taken away. That's what you say. It's more. I think it's more fun to have them taken away because you can celebrate 1,000 wins twice now.
Just do it. Who cares?
Villanova is another one. You've won 2 titles recently. Jay Wright now is it's hilarious how for the longest 5 years ago no one trusted Jay Wright in March. Now Villanova's in the Sweet 16 and people are like, you dumb idiot. Sure, he lost Colin Gillespie, but it's still Jay Wright on the bench. Why would you not trust Jay Wright in March? And it's funny how that changes so fast. But yeah, Villanova
lost to NC State in 2015, lost to Nigel Hayes, 2017.
If Villanova goes to the Final Four again, I don't think that changes how anybody views Jay Wright. If Villanova loses by 30,
done. They are doing victory laps at this point. And Villanova is the perfect example. We talked about Gonzaga. Villanova went 1985. Of course, they're in the Big East, but they are the ultimate underdog. They're an 8 seed. They upset Patrick Ewing, who's going for back-to-back championships. They are the Cinderella story of the modern NCAA tournament, and now they are a blue blood. They have come full circle, and that's what Gonzaga is trying to do.
And I just got told in my ear that Andy Katz is on the line. He's laughing at us because he's like, I'm the tier god. You guys don't know anything about tiers. Why are they doing tiers without me? He's getting fired up.
Andy, please help us with our tiers.
Andy, what?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good to see
You're
you,
throwing
Andy.
it back at us. Andy, we're just going through the tiers. We're trying to figure out like what legacies are on the line here with coaches, with programs. And we were just talking to like Syracuse and Villanova, like Jim Boeheim, he's done everything there is to do. If he doesn't win a national title, is anybody going to view Jim Boeheim differently? I feel that way about Jay Wright. Like the only thing he can really do is collect trophies at this point. He already has the full trust of everybody. You disagree?
Yeah, no, I mean, his legacy is cemented. It was interesting what you just said before, as I was in the waiting room waiting for you guys to invite me in. I actually hadn't thought about Buddy Boeheim leaving early, but he could. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that once Buddy Boeheim's career is over, which would be next year if he stays, that Jim Boeheim will retire. So if he did go to the draft, would that push it by a year? Maybe. It could. But I'll tell you this. I've got them advancing to the Elite Eight against Sister Jean, and they certainly could win that.
Yep.
So as crazy as it is, this is the third time they've been a double-digit seed since 2016, so 16, 18,
Yep.
and 21 that they're at the Sweet 16 as a double-digit seed. But as crazy it is that one of the last teams in, they could get to the Final Four.
The draw is definitely favorable.
Yeah, I see a path.
Andy, how are you doing? How are you holding up? How is life with the at the big boy desk going?
You've been great, Andy.
Thank you for coming back and visiting us.
Yeah,
are they treating you well? We noticed you do a selfie every day before you start, where you got the big smile, and we noticed on day one, Ernie
was smiling with you.
Ernie was smiling with you. By day 4, Ernie was not paying a lick of attention to your selfie. So, what's the vibe like on the desk, Andy?
It's tremendous. There is a reason they're the top, sports show the last 30 years. They've been great. They welcome me in as a family member, if you will, especially, within COVID. There are obviously a lot of protocols on the campus there, and yet we've still been able to distance, even offset, spend time together and with masks, and they've been tremendous. I cannot ask for anything better. I feel like I fit right in. And, there's a lot of barbs back and forth, but you got to take them and dish them out within reason. And, it could not have gone better. And can't wait for Saturday to Tuesday.
And Andy, we have to ask, do you feel the pressure of America looking at you and saying, Andy, please explain college basketball to these people? Because it is a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? It feels like every game they come back and they're like, Andy, what happened? It's your job to explain it.
No. I will tell you this. And look, I don't pretend to know every NBA, player or coach.
Yep.
In fact, the Oklahoma City Thunder were staying in my hotel last week, and I completely blanked on who the head coach of the Thunder is. I challenged the two of you to name them.
Brad Stevens.
And what's that?
Brad Stevens.
Can you name the Oklahoma City Thunder coach?
No, I can't.
We were just talking about the other day. Titus was
I
like,
don't know
who's
the
coach of
Pacers
the Pacers?
coach.
I was like, Nate Borkin. He's like, who?
Yeah.
So I don't pretend to know that. But I will say this. They do a phenomenal job of watching and analyzing like that.
Yep.
Of really picking apart for teams that they had not seen, obviously, throughout the course of the season. And Ernie's the best. He is the best host there is. He's an unbelievable human being, a great father. And so, I have nothing but, wonderful things to say about all of them.
It's been great, Andy. It's been great to see.
So we were bearing the lead a little bit, Andy. Would you? I was told the reason you wanted to come on the show this week was to apologize.
Wait! You invited me. What do you mean?
No. That's not what I was told. I was told by Louise, our producer, that Andy wanted to come on and apologize for all the blatant disrespect to the Pac-12. That Tate and I were trying to stick up for the Pac-12 all season. I remember looking at your power rankings. I said, "This is ridiculous. You have no Pac-12 teams in these tiers. There's
Where's
zero."
the Pac-12 tiers?
I said, "Why is it when Colorado loses to Cal, it means Colorado sucks, but when Ohio State loses to Michigan State, it means the bottom of the Big Ten is very strong." apologize, I guess. I don't have a question. I have a statement. Apologize. Apologize to all the Pac-12 listeners for the disrespect over the.
Okay, look,
Okay.
I'm not alone in undervaluing the Pac-12 this year. Although, by the way, I did MC and host their media day in the fall. And so actually that quote from Wayne Tinkle about how they won't finish 12th, that was when we were doing our preview in the fall. But I also would say, and I'm not trying to defend the Big Ten because it's been, atrocious. But matchups do matter. There's no question that matchups matter. For example, look at Colorado. You brought up Colorado. The difference in the way Colorado played against Georgetown and Florida State is as much of who they played. 16 threes against Georgetown, 11 in the first half, because they have completely different personnel than Florida State does in the way they defend, their length, athleticism. They couldn't get a shot off against Florida State. UCLA did not play well the last 4 games. I know I heard it from Bruins fans when I kind of questioned if they should even be in. Well, I wasn't alone. They were in the first 4 because they really only had 1 win in the last 6 weeks over a tournament team, and that was Oregon State. But Jaime Jaquez and Johnny Juzang have found their offense, and they're playing great. They beat a very inconsistent Michigan State team. They got BYU, and they beat them at their own game. And then, look, it matters. They played Abilene Christian versus Texas. That matters. Villanova fans, they're all over me right now because I had Villanova toward the bottom of the power rankings. Well, they beat Winthrop in North Texas. So now they're going up against Baylor. You talk about big boy table. That's big boy team right there. Okay? That matters. You have to judge them. So it's not just rankings matchups, but you also have to judge them who they played and how they played. And I think it matters.
So do you
look, Oregon State, hold on. Oregon State and Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
Oral Roberts had to beat Ohio State and Florida.
Yep.
Oregon State had to beat Tennessee and Oklahoma State. And I know you only can do what you got in front of you, but that should matter of who they had to beat.
Yeah, I agree. So all these conversations about the conferences, though, that the Big Ten is a huge disappointment, the Big 12 is a huge disappointment. Baylor's the only Big 12 team left, but the Pac-12 is dominating. Do you think that we're all wasting our oxygen trying to frame it that way? Are you a subscriber to conferences don't win NCAA tournament games, teams do, and teams win titles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because are we suddenly going to say the WCC is the best conference in America because Gonzaga wins?
Yeah.
No. I still believe that the Big Ten was the best conference in the regular season. They have failed miserably in the postseason. You cannot explain Ohio State and Purdue. They played incredibly poor. Iowa tried to run with Oregon, but that's what Iowa does, and they couldn't keep up. And they got, wasted. Bad matchup for Maryland against Alabama. But let's not – the thing with Maryland and Wisconsin, while they got blown out in their second round games, I do think we have to at least say, Wisconsin torched Tate's Carolina team in the first round.
What happened, Andy?
With threes. And Maryland completely locked up UConn, which was sort of a buzz favorite for a lot of people. So they should get credit for that. And then at the end of the day, the most consistent team overall, Michigan, is still standing. Oh, and by the way, Rutgers, they're never going to live that down.
I know.
They should have won that game.
That was tough. That was tough to watch.
They should have won that game.
That was tough.
Brendan Haywood, who was on the call, I thought did a great job, is that Brendan Haywood basically said that, they were in prevent offense.
Yeah.
Like a football team
right.
almost. And that's what they were doing those last couple of minutes against Houston.
And Andy, just looking at the Sweet 16 and some of the storylines going into it, I mean, we got this dead period where we're waiting till games until Saturday. What are the stories that are going on the ground in Indianapolis? Like, are you keeping up with that? Are we trying to find out storylines in between this, or are we just trying to kind of wait and see? I know we just had Zegarowski come on. And he said, it's very boring, as they're waiting around to get games going again.
Yeah, I think when all things are said and done, but this was done for television. Let's not kid ourselves here. I think they probably should have started up what's today? What's today? Wednesday? I can't remember. They easily could have started up tomorrow or Friday.
That's what I feel like. Yeah.
For whatever reason, they thought my gut is, and I don't know the answer to this. Obviously, they wanted Saturday, Sunday, for television, and then we'll see how the Monday, Tuesday works out. The one thing I do think that we're going to like on the back end that now feels kind of like we're wasting time is, for the first time ever, Saturday and Sunday, every game's in its own window.
Yep, that is cool.
And that, I think, we are going to love this weekend, because it's hard when the games are competing against each other. And if you have everything on a Saturday and Sunday, with one after another, I think people are going to really like that. I could see that happening. It won't feel as long if next year we are in a normal situation and the teams go home. I think that'll be a big difference, and they're allowed to be on campus and things are exciting, and then they come back. Yes, it's probably boring right now. Yesterday, they all went to the zoo and they took the day off because everyone was tired. So they're probably going to practice today, practice tomorrow, practice Friday. Teams play Sunday. It'll really feel long, and Creighton's one of them. I think that it for the players, for everyone else that's covering it, this is going to be kind of a long 3 days. But I really believe after Sunday night, we're going to feel like, wow, that was pretty cool that we saw every game by itself.
Well, because of the weird schedule, because of it all taking place in one location, because VCU has to bow out involuntarily, and just the circumstances of this tournament, Andy, what Tate and I are seeing more and more of is that people are calling it a Mickey Mouse tournament. They're saying that this tournament shouldn't count.
Who are these people?
I don't know. We're hearing it.
I don't know
who's
saying it.
Who's saying it? And
no, but here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Mark. And I know people get mad if I say Mark instead of Titus.
That's all right. My mom does it. She loves it. She loves when people call me by my name.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know you tweeted it out. Maybe I took it out of context. But here's the thing about the asterisk.
Who tweeted it, Andy?
I was hacked.
All right. Okay. At the end of the day, no one would have known who Max Asmus was. Okay. He has had, and Kevin O'Banner from Oral Roberts, he's had the moments of his life. I mean, tremendous. He'll be able to build off this forever.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, even though they lost, Tanner Grove, okay? That looks like a lumberjack. Goes for 35 against Kansas. That wouldn't be seen. The fact that, we're getting Loyola beating Illinois.
Krutwig.
Historic upset in that sense. Cameron Krutwig. Buddy Boeheim, North Texas obviously winning. I could go on, obviously, like the greatness of Gonzaga and Baylor, the way Alabama's playing.
Bus.
Yeah, I mean, these things would not have happened. And I do believe, to Marcus's point about boring and all this and everything they've gone through, that we shouldn't asterisk, because this was hard.
Yes.
Really hard. People had to opt out, decide to opt out. They got to get through these next 2 weeks, and then they got their freedom. But this was not easy. So I would not go through and talk to anyone that had to quarantine, whether they had it or were contact traced. And, Iona went 50 days without a game and got a March Madness moment. So, I think it's totally worth it. Can I use your platform for one other thing?
Go ahead.
Yeah, please, Andy.
I don't want to get in the weeds of what went wrong with the way they handled things at the women's tournament, but I do want to get this out because I wanted to say this, and it's hard in different platforms. So I'm going to use you for a moment.
Love it, Andy. Please.
I really wish that the women would have gone in April this particular year. And I say that because they made the decision late, okay, not until early February, to go to Texas. You're trying to put on a tournament with 64 teams. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just telling you a fact, in 6 weeks. If they had waited till April, a couple things would have happened. One, you get your own television windows. And I know you got to get ESPN on board there, but still, you get your own thing. You're not competing against CBS and TBS and some of the brand names on the men's side, ratings wise and attention wise. So that's number one. Get your, have it all to yourselves. Have the full army, if you will, of people that work within the NCAA and the membership to your tournament. Right now, by nature of the two tournaments going on at the same time, which I know normally happens, but they really are competing now, more so than ever in terms of actual days. The staffs are probably 75-25. I may be wrong on my percentages, but if you add it after the men, you could have your entire staff working it. And also, if it were later, that might have had programs like Duke, okay, that might have said, you know what, we'll get through this pause period because they had, they obviously had a difficult December and decided to opt out, women. Maybe they would have said, you know what, we got time. Yeah. Let's get through this. We're going to have our full tournament, full participation in April. And I think they missed the boat on that. And maybe it was broached and I don't know it, but I think this would have been the year to separate the two and have attention on men, then all the attention on the women.
Right, because I know Tate and I have we watch women's basketball.
I was watching yesterday. Yeah,
we'll watch it. The problem is a lot of basketball fans in this country have just the way the media works is that when you have the basketball you love the most so available to you, you tend to just go into the one lane, and we just watch college basketball. When we were growing up, we would watch everything. We'd watch the NBA, college, and you just notice that like it becomes fragmented. So to your point, Andy, I think anything you can do to make women's basketball not feel like it's competing against men's basketball as much as it's
let's be on the same team. Yeah.
Well, that's what they do with the WNBA.
Right. Yeah.
The WNBA is got its own windows, and from a business model perspective, that makes sense. Yeah. You wouldn't put it directly in competition with the men. Now, they use a lot of the same arenas, so that wouldn't make sense either. But, as an experiment, I'm just saying, I'm not saying permanent. As an experiment, this would have been the year to do it. Go longer. I mean, there were a lot of men's coaches that wanted to go into April or May.
Yeah, Rick Pitino.
Right. I mean, I think if there was ever a time to try it, this would have been the year to push it. And I actually would have done it not in Texas. I would have done it in Indianapolis. You would have already had the blueprint. Yep. Just say, you know what? Men's is over. We're going to use the same facilities, same giant convention center, same weight room, same hotels. Let's just do it right after.
Well, Andy, when you're sitting at the big boy desk with Chuck and Kenny and Ernie, and you're thinking about how great your life is, just remember that they won't give you this platform that we just did. Just remember that. Like they're
going to ask you why Oral Roberts is winning games, and you're going to say Asmus.
Don't forget about us.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. I know we got to run, but do you agree with Charles's point that in the two games that Oral Roberts played against Ohio State, this is sensitive for you, Mark, and Florida, he said in those two games, on those 2 days, that Max Asmus, can I buy a B, Max Asmus, and Kevin O'Banner were the two best players on the floor?
I mean, in the games, yeah. They in those games, yes. I think if you replay those games, no. I mean, E.J. Liddell played pretty well for Ohio State, I felt like. I think it's easy to say because you lose, like you didn't play well. But, yeah, I mean, I would agree that we said they're the best NBA Jam team we've ever seen, those two guys. That if you're playing a video game, like I want to play with Oral Roberts.
Yep.
And, I think they got a shot against Arkansas. I think at this point in time, like you look at the way they're playing, if they play decent enough defense, they can beat anybody.
And O'Banner shocks people. I feel like you get distracted by Asmus and you realize, like throughout the game, you're like, oh, this other guy's killing me, maybe even more than Asmus. So that was the hard part in the first game with Ohio State, I felt like.
Andy,
did you know how to spell his name?
Yes. A-B-M-A-S.
Yeah.
I love that line. I asked Charles, I said, how do you spell Max Asmus? And he goes, M-A-X.
M-A-X. That's great. Awesome. Andy, you're the best. We appreciate it. Take care of the Mickey Mouse tournament for us.
Thanks, Andy.
It's easy for you to not call it a Mickey Mouse.
Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me.
We will not. Don't forget about us, Andy. Yes. We love you.
We'll be watching.
Take it easy.
All right, bye.
All right, let's wrap it up with this, Tate. Let's finish up our tiers here. We had I'm going to go through them quickly. Oregon was also on my been there, done that.
Yep.
Dana Altman, Oregon go to the 2017 Final Four. It's only Oregon's second Final Four, by the way. They made it in 1939.
But people forget, Oregon won the first NCAA tournament in 1939. Yep. They were not the Oregon Ducks. They were the Oregon Webfoots.
Yep.
So they've done it before. They've seen it before.
If Oregon can get by USC, it'll be their third Elite Eight in the last 5 tournaments. And that's wild.
Dana Altman is one of those guys that is becoming almost, we're not giving him enough credit, right?
Yeah.
We're not giving him enough due for how great he's been at Oregon.
The Indiana University might be giving him some
That's
credit.
a good one.
Maybe.
I like that.
I don't know. We'll see. And then finally, the last one I had on the been there, done that tier, which is, again, as a reminder.
Dana Altman's bringing Nike if he's coming to Indiana. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Indiana's getting rid of Adidas.
Yeah.
Either way, I think they're getting rid of Adidas.
nice.
But the been there, done that tier is the been there, done that. The only way you can really add to the legacy is if you win a title. And Loyola I'm throwing on there because they've already won a title. People forget that.
Yeah, people do forget that.
1963, Loyola is a national champion winning program. And of course, in 2018, they go to the Final Four. So you're looking at this and you're saying, all right, if Loyola goes to another Final Four, I guess that's cool. It makes it more legitimate. It makes it less of a fluke, the 2018 run. And there's that, but in terms of like Porter Moser, how we view him, he's already a hot commodity. It's already interesting to see what's going to end up happening with Porter Moser, whether he's going to stay at Loyola and try to build like a Gonzaga in the Midwest, whether he's going to take the bag at Indiana or Marquette or wherever else. We shall see.
We shall see.
We shall see.
It does seem very bag to me because you got guys like Draymond Green who tweets out to the world, Loyola Chicago coach got to be up for a big-time job this year. Dude is getting it done year in and year out. Sheesh. The she says to me that he's going to go to Marquette. So,
finally, my last tier, the last 2 teams, they're happy to be here. It's Oregon State and Oral Roberts. Let's just call it what it is. Oregon State, it's their first legal Sweet 16 since 1975. They made it in '82, but that one didn't count. It got taken away by the NCAA. Yep. They were picked to finish last in the Pac-12 this year. They on February 20th, they were 11-11 in the tournament on the season. They were 500 on February 20th.
They're very George. If you were familiar with Georgetown's story, that is basically Oregon State.
And as a reminder, in the first game of the Pac-12 tournament against UCLA, Jules Bernard had 2 free throws. UCLA's down 1. He's got 2 free throws with 3 seconds left. If he hits both, he missed the first, made the second. If he hits them both, it's over. And it's done right there. And there's not a single person on earth that's even batting an eye at Oregon State basketball and saying, like, they were close or anything like that. Because they lose in the first round of the Pac-12 tournament and nobody's talking about them. But instead, they're here. So, like, every Oregon State fan's like, I would love to beat Loyola. If we don't, what a run. What a run it was.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a fear that Loyola in this game, maybe they're overlooking their opponent.
Yeah,
you know what I
they're
mean?
the hunted.
Exactly. Which I like Loyola. We all do. We obviously like, Sister Meme and Lady Jean being the hunter, the one that, is supposed to go for the upset. But this is the time where Oregon State, I think, could make some noise. And the Pac-12 9-1 in the tournament. You know what I mean? Straight up.
Yep.
That's insane.
That's
Regardless
amazing.
of what happens, they're going to end the tournament with a winning record. So that says a lot.
And finally, shout out Oral Roberts. They're happy to be here, obviously. The second 15 to ever make the Sweet 16. Could be the first to make the Elite Eight.
I was going to say, make history.
Make some history.
Yeah.
They're good enough to, man.
I see it.
It's a good matchup for Oral Roberts. Like, Arkansas is going to get up and down and let them. Like, it's going to be a fast-paced game, and they're going to, like, Arkansas has better athletes, better players, whatever. But, if Ace Smith and O'Banner go crazy.
And we've seen Muss when we had him on our show. We brought up Colgate, and he was concerned about Colgate. So it's not like Arkansas thinks that they're a surefire team to get this win. They have the best 1-2 punch we've seen in the tournament so far, and O'Banner and Naismith. So
I definitely expect Arkansas to win. But if Oral Roberts does win and you're surprised, you haven't been paying attention. That's what I would say. You haven't been paying attention to how they're winning these games because. They can go, man.
Arkansas is favored by 11 points in this game.
Yeah,
that seems wild.
Interesting. Seems very interesting. All right, are we wrapping up? Do we have fan questions? Do we have interaction?
Here we
Which
go.
Pac-12 team has the best chance to make the Final Four? Will there be more than one? Now,
I have a cheap answer, so I'll give it to you. The winner of Oregon USC. So that is like I think in my nightmares of nightmares that whoever wins that game, and I think it's going to be USC, and I'll knock on wood, I think they're going to knock out Gonzaga.
Yeah, the shame in it, if you're trying to get a Pac-12 team to the Final Four, the shame in it is that you have to play Gonzaga if you win. Where like Oregon State has the best draw in terms of the teams left in your region. USC and Oregon are the best
I wish
teams.
Oregon was in Loyola's region. You know what I mean? I wish Oregon State and Oregon could swap.
Right.
That would be great for everybody.
Yeah, if the winner of USC Oregon was playing like the winner of Loyola Oregon State, then I'm taking Oregon.
Yeah. They're going to the Final Four.
They're going to the Final Four for sure. Yeah.
But Gonzaga, it's a bad matchup.
So I would say I still think it's like I still think I'm with you because I think USC and Oregon can't give Gonzaga some problems.
I mean, in UCLA, I will say, I mean, the 11 seed. I know we're all talking about Syracuse being the 11 seed that goes to the Final Four. There is, and I told you this once they won their first game. I'm like, is Mick Cronin going to go on a Final Four run here? Michigan, Florida State, maybe they beat up on each other, and there's a chance he goes for a run.
This is a great question. Mick Cronin has taken Mr. March from Tom Izzo, but did he also take manufactured adversity with Chris Smith? Are you saying, Mark, are you saying that maybe Chris Smith didn't actually tear his ACL?
Mark, these are the kind of remarks,
this is a Denzel Valentine
commentary
situation
that we like to see.
We love it.
I'm not saying no, that's for sure. I'm not saying no.
Mick Cronin looked and he said, we have a lot of scorers on this team.
Yes.
We could do with one fewer.
Go down. Fall.
Tom Izzo may or may not have done that with Denzel Valentine in 2016.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Who is the most undefeated team in the This is a question for you. Ryan is asking, who is the most undefeated team in the tournament? You are the undefeated expert. How do you see it?
It's Gonzaga. And, I hate to say that, little on the nose, I know, but, they have basically won every game, obviously by double digits.
I thought you were stopping at that point.
Knock it off. That's why they're so undefeated. They're favored by 13 in this game against Creighton. That's a pretty large line. I would say they're by far the most undefeated team. My runner-up, though, is Oregon, because Oregon did not play a game, as we both know, and then they blow out Iowa in the next game. So I'm going to say Oregon's probably number 2.
VCU also undefeated in this tournament.
You're right. VCU.
UCLA, you can make an argument for. They've won more games than anyone else in this tournament.
True.
They've won 3.
These are good arguments. These are good arguments.
A lot of options. You're going with Gonzaga as the most
going
undefeated.
with Oregon and Gonzaga. Yeah, those are my teams.
I
think that's the strongest region we have left, by the way, the West.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
by far.
That's what's funny is like when the draw happened, you looked at it for Gonzaga. You were like, this could be bad for Gonzaga, and I'll be damned. You ended up being right. I felt like it wasn't that hard because they had all the top seeds were teams that they already beat, and now they're not going to play any of them.
I had no idea the Pac-12 was going to look this good, but if you told me that Oregon and USC were going to look like this, yes, a problem.
Let's wrap it up with this. Like, rank the games for us. Just rapid fire, maybe. Like, what game? You don't have to do all of them, I guess, but like of the 8 games we have coming up, which ones are you have circled as like that one's going to be the most fun, that one's going to be close, whatever?
Baylor Villanova is my first one I have marked because I just like the idea of 2 top flight programs. This is blue blood versus new blood, right? This is Villanova versus Baylor. I like that. So that's probably my number 1. My number 2, interesting enough, is USC Oregon.
That's my number 1.
Yeah,
that's my definite number 1.
It
100%.
should probably be my number 1, but my heart is so entrenched in this game because I believe in both teams in different ways that I almost just want to know who wins. Yeah. And then I'm going to deal with the Gonzaga, versus whoever the winner of that game situation. The next one I have on my list, this is a little bit. Louise is going to love this. Buddy Boeheim show.
What? That's dead last. That's number 8.
I want to watch Buddy Boeheim. I mean, ACC apologist here. I want to see if this is for real. I want to see if he's just going to go on a full-out tournament run. So I have that as my number 3. Those are my top 3 right now.
All right. I got Oregon, USC, definitely number 1 by far for me. That one, they played once. USC, they boat raced them. They got out to big lead early.
Hilariously enough, if there was just a USC-Oregon regular season game going on, how much priority would that have in your life?
Well, that's the joy of March Madness.
That's what I'm saying. That's why we have seen these games before throughout the year. We just
I have number 2 for me. I think is Michigan, Florida State, because there's the revenge factor of that. The ACC Big Ten.
My heart's too invested in that game.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna watch. Every time I watch Michigan, they win by a lot. So I'm gonna stay out of that game.
That one I have is number 2, and then I probably have number 3 as Baylor Villanova or Gonzaga Creighton. Both of them. There's gonna be a lot of shots.
There's a lot of good games.
Both of those games, Gonzaga Creighton, Baylor Villanova, a lot of shots.
I think Loyola Oregon State is the worst game for me. I think that's the one that
towards the bottom for
you
me.
Tell me who wins, right? I just want to know who won that game.
My 2 bottom are Syracuse, Houston, and Loyola Oregon State. Just the whole Midwest.
Yeah.
No disrespect to those teams, but also I don't really care to watch you guys play.
Arkansas or Roberts will be a very fun game when you look at A. Smith and Moses Moody. And,
I expect Arkansas to win by 7, like be up by 7 the whole game and win rather comfortably. But I've also expected that each of Oral Roberts games. But it's going to be fun to watch. It's one of the score might not necessarily be close, but it's going to be awesome. Yeah. It's going to be a ton of fun basketball.
Fun basketball.
It'll be fun. Alabama, UCLA could be pretty fun, too. A lot of good games, as it turns out. A lot of good teams left. That's how this works.
This is a nice Final Four. I will say we got a lot of legit programs here in the Sweet 16.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be great. All right, I guess that's it. Anything else? Any parting shots?
No parting shots. Scott Drew, I just will say this. I believe in you. It's a bad matchup. We heard this. We had Andy Katz come on. It's all about the matchups. Villanova is a tough matchup for Baylor. Last time they played, Baylor did win that game. So I don't know. I'm not feeling good, but I'm pulling for you, Scott Drew.
You are just hedging on every single.
I'm hedging on everything. I'm hedging on
like,
my heart right now because this tournament makes no sense, as we know. The opposite theory, the Mickey Mouse aspect of it all.
If you were doing a gambling podcast with Cousin Sal right now, you would say all of these are stay-away games.
Yes. The entire tournament is a stay-away tournament would be my answer. Yeah.
That's a 50-50 for me.
I'd be looking at the CBI lines. Trying to figure out what I do with that.
Listen, we will be back on Saturday. Saturday's when these games start. Saturday night after the games are over. Please join us then for some late night breaking down the first Sweet 16 games.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
We can watch them all together. Finally, all the games.